What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simply Breeze. My name is Bree if you're new here. Today I'm going to walk you through some of my favorite things to purchase from Costco as somebody who is on a budget, as somebody who used to live alone, was single, and money was tight, and this is a habit that's carried over to me living with my husband before he was my husband, and now what me and my husband do in an effort to save money but also make sure we're stocked up on food and we've just got a good supply of food on hand. So we were out of chicken, we were out of pork, we were getting low on cheese, and that includes just like regular like cheddar and then Parmesan cheese. So my husband, thankfully, while I was at work, he was not, and he went to Costco and did a Costco run for us. So what he got for us were some chicken thighs, and this Costco pack is 6 individual packages on both sides. So 6 individual packages, and there's about 4-ish chicken thighs per individual package. So these chicken thighs are going to last us a while. With that, there's also the chicken. Let's do this without making a mess. We got chicken breasts as well. Also a package of 6. So there's 3 on this side and 3 on this side. And each package has between 2 to 3 chicken breasts in it, just depending. And so what I like to do with this chicken, I did say buying chicken whole is generally the most cost-effective way to buy chicken. Alternatively, if you don't want to butcher your own chicken, us doing it this way, the chicken was $2.99 a pound for the chicken breasts and $1.79 a pound for the thighs. So that's also an incredibly economical way to purchase chicken if you don't want to butcher or cut up the chicken yourself. Shop at Costco. I'm pretty sure Sam's Club does a very similar thing. I haven't had a Sam's Club membership for quite some time, so I don't remember. Costco won out when I had to choose between the two, so Costco's where I go, but I want to say Sam's Club has something similar to this. I just don't know 100%. On top of our chicken, we were also out of pork. And I'm gonna be careful with this guy because the pork chops are leaking. But you see how thick these pork chops are? These things are huge. And they are boneless because they were cut from the pork loin. So these are pork loin pork chops. And what I like to do is buy this package, and this package is $2.79 a pound for 9 honkin' pork chops. But what I like to do is I like to cut these pork chops in half, and then we get twice as many pork chops for eating out of it. So this is going to give me and my husband 9 separate meals. And so that is also why I like to purchase my pork at Costco as well. So now what I like to do when I get our pork and our chicken in bulk is I like to go ahead and repackage them into marinades. That way, when it comes time for dinner, I don't need to always be in the creative mindset or have a lot of forethought on what I need to cook. Having marinated meats in the freezer is just a really big convenience for me, because having to pull out the chicken to thaw and then put it in the marinade and have it marinate is just too much for me in my mind. My mind goes, it's extra work, we're not going to do it, and then we just don't end up having marinated meats if the meat isn't already pre-marinated in the freezer. So I'm going to walk you through what I like to do to help myself out, to make sure we constantly have varying meals on the table, and why I like to buy in bulk, because now Reed and I are set for pork and chicken for a couple of months, and we don't have to buy that specific meat source for a little bit, which is going to save us money on a monthly basis. So I'm going to go ahead and get the chicken put back into the fridge while we work on the pork. We're going to use our food saver. I have all of the ingredients already out, and I just throw everything into the food saver, label it all, and then chuck it all in the freezer. So before I go ahead and get the pork chops cut in half and get into the marinades, we need to get our bags pre-made, pre-labeled. That way we don't have to do it later if the bag is already like a mess on the outside. It's already pre-labeled and we know what is what. I'm gonna turn my food saver on. My food saver's got this nifty little rollout function. Okay. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna seal one end. We're gonna get a good seal on it. We're gonna pull it out, and I need to start packaging my meats now, no longer like I'm feeding literally just 2 people. Reed and I would very much like to have leftovers, and so what I'm going to do is I'm gonna store 4 meals per bag instead of 2 meals per bag. That way we have leftovers for the following day. This is how I make sure we limit how often we eat out. And if we have leftovers for lunch, we don't need to worry about food while we're at work. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it a little bit bigger. And then we're gonna put this down, we're gonna slide. And the first set of pork chops I'm going to make are going to be barbecue pork chops. And today's date is October 22nd. So I like to go ahead and I put what the meat is, barbecue pork, and the date that I put it in there to help me FIFO, which is first in, first out. That way we're using older stuff first and newer stuff last. And I am going to get 9 meals. So I'm going to make 2 of these barbecue pork. Okay. What else do I want to make? Honey mustard. I'm gonna have 1 balsamic basil. Oh, I'm really stuck. Pork chop, and that one's only gonna have 2 pork chops in it. The way the math works out, I'll only get 1 balsamic, which is totally fine. Because this is a new recipe to me, I'm okay with only having 1. And then I already know what I'm going to be making for my chicken. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those bags made up as well. For the chicken, that way the bags are already pre-made. I'm gonna be making a honey chipotle marinade and a balsamic chicken marinade. Both of those recipes are from Becky at Acre Homestead. I'll link all these recipes down below. And then I'm going to do a sweet chili chicken and a honey garlic chicken marinade as well. Let's see, So essentially what I'm gonna do is each package of individual chicken breasts and chicken thighs, I'm just gonna transfer them over. Or maybe I have to wait. I think I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to do this until I start opening up the chicken. And I'm gonna reportion everything. I think that's the route I'm gonna take. Just to make my life easier and to math easier. Okay, so we're gonna deviate. We're not gonna get the chicken bags made. We'll get those made here in a minute. So we're gonna turn the food saver off for the moment because we don't need it right now. And now we're gonna go ahead and get to work on our pork marinades. And the first thing that we need to do for the pork is we need to get the pork cut in half. For this, you want to make sure you're working with a really sharp knife. So we're going to get our knife sharpened. This is a nifty little tool I picked up at Walmart with my sister-in-law years ago. If you're a knife connoisseur, this probably isn't ideal. However, it's perfect for me. And that's what matters. It's easy, it's convenient, we don't have any fancy knife sharpening tools. All I do is rinse this off and my knife is nice and sharp. Okay. We are going to get this package of pork opened on up. Okay. And here, now I'm going to give you like a really good look at this pork chop. Like, look at that bad boy. Look how thick he is. So that's why I'm cutting these in half. Because even cutting these in half, these guys are almost still an inch thick. So I'm just going to go through and cut every single one of these in half before we move forward. Maybe 3/4 of an inch thick after being cut in half. Not using anything precise, just literally cutting where I feel the half point is, or the middle of the pork chop is. So we just turned this package of 9 pork chops into 18. Now I'm going to load up 2 pork chops into the basil balsamic, and I'm going to try and keep one hand clean so I can hold the bag open. We're going to try and lay out the pork chops, and then these bigger bags are going to get 4 of these smaller pork chops instead of just 2. Basil balsamic pork chop marinade is 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, half a teaspoon of basil, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. So let me go ahead and get my measuring spoons and the balsamic vinegar. Okay, so the balsamic vinegar calls for 2 tablespoons. We're gonna eyeball this. We're gonna do 2. Probably a little bit more than 2, but we're gonna go for it. Okay. And then olive oil. I don't have olive oil. Typically I have avocado oil, but we're just gonna go for a bit of a neutral flavored oil. It'll be fine. So 1 tablespoon there. Okay, we'll call that good. And then half a teaspoon of dried basil. And I'm leaning this guy up against something to keep it from falling over and making a mess on my counter. So let's just take those off. We need half a teaspoon of dried basil. This is some homegrown basil. Crush it up a little bit. That seems good. We need half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And then 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. So we'll just do half of this scoop because this is a half teaspoon. We'll do half of the black pepper. All right, And so now what I like to do when I'm doing marinades is the Food Saver has a wet option. I'm not a big fan of it. So what I like to do instead is I will pull out just enough air to get the liquid to start moving, but I won't completely vacuum out all of the air, just to keep it from making an absolute mess. So right as it looked like the liquid was rushing, I made sure to just hit seal. I didn't let it continue with its vacuum process. I just cut it off, and that kept it from making an absolute mess, especially with all the marinades we're doing, and I cut the liquid off. The liquid never made it up above the seal. And then what I do is I'll just go ahead and so I'll mix in all the ingredients. Just mix them around. And then as you can put it in the freezer right away, and then as you are ready, when you are ready to pull the pork out, just go ahead, set it in your fridge, let it thaw. As it's thawing, it'll marinate, leave it in the fridge for about 24 to 48 hours. And then when you are ready to use it, it's perfectly marinated and ready to go. And you didn't have to do the extra step of thawing it and then marinating. It'll all be done in one. So we're gonna pop this in the fridge and we're gonna keep going on the rest of our marinades. So the next marinade is our honey mustard pork chop marinade, which is the one I've got right here. And that calls for a 1/4 cup of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, 2 tablespoons of honey, 1 tablespoon of whole grain mustard, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. So we're gonna do the salt, the pepper, and the garlic powder first, just because they're readily accessible. Oh, and I need to because of how many I'm putting in here, I'll just go ahead and probably double that, because I think that's for single serving. I don't know if it's for full or not. That might be a lot of pepper. I've never done this with these recipes with more than 2 servings, so we're gonna see how this goes. So we need garlic powder. Just do a good heaping scoop of garlic. Scoop of garlic. Whole grain mustard. I do have whole grain mustard. Actually, this guy. This guy's whole grain mustard. So we'll put a little bit, maybe. Okay. Maybe only one of these is getting whole grain mustard. Split it between the 2. We'll just call it a day. I think this guy's done for, so we went a little less on the whole grain mustard. It's fine. All right, now we got honey, we've got Dijon mustard, so we got some Dijon right here. It's also looking a little sparse, so we're gonna finish this guy off for both of these bags. Let's do the olive oil. We're gonna do the honey last, just because honey can be a real mess. And this is a 1/4 cup of olive oil. In our case, it's gonna be avocado oil. Oh no! Okay, well, don't miss the bag. Personal recommendation. We'll see how that looks. Let me get something to clean this up. It calls for 2 tablespoons of honey. So let's see if we can safely spill this honey into here. Sure, call that good. And then we need to safely pour into this guy as well. Maybe. Okay. Just a little bit of mess. And a trick you can always do if you like get the top of the bag all sorts of messy is you can go ahead and take like a paper towel and clean the inside to help the seal. Sometimes when there's stuff there, the seal doesn't always want to take. And so I just like to take a paper towel, wipe the inside edge, just so we can make sure we're getting a really good seal on this bag. Okay, we'll just take enough of the air out. Again, same process for all of these. We just take enough of the air out and then we give it a seal, and we're still able to mix in the marinade. Okay, beautiful. So now we can get the pork chops moving all around in here. Okay. Our honey mustard marinades are now done, so we're going to put these in the fridge as well. And then lastly, we are going to do our barbecue. Oops. We're going to do our barbecue pork chops. I can keep from making an absolute mess. This recipe calls for some brown sugar. And it calls for a 1/4 cup, or no, only a teaspoon, a tablespoon. Okay, I grabbed the wrong thing. Okay, so a tablespoon of brown sugar. Thicken her up a little bit. Then we're gonna do 1/4 cup of barbecue sauce. So I've got not homemade. I have goals to make homemade barbecue sauce this year, but until then, we're gonna use store-bought barbecue sauce. We need a 1/4 cup. I'm probably gonna do more like a 1/3. Okay. Then it calls for just a little bit of lemon juice. So we got 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, or we could do white vinegar. We could have also substituted honey instead of brown sugar, but I figured brown sugar would be good, just because the honey can be a mess. So we got our brown sugar. We need chili powder. Again, an ingredient I didn't grab. Okay, we need a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. I do have that. We'll probably just do a heaping scoop. Again, because we want just a little bit more than what's in the recipe for this, for us in particular. You don't have to do exactly this because I'll link the recipe for you down below. A little bit more. And then black pepper. Fantastic. Okay, so now the barbecue marinades are done. We're gonna go ahead and get these. My thought process is if I'm gonna do one marinade, we're gonna do a couple because it doesn't take that much more time to get a whole bunch of these going. And then that way, you just get it all done at once. I'm all for spending my time wisely. I don't always succeed, but I try. Okay. We're gonna put these in the fridge and we're gonna move on to our chicken. And to start, I'm gonna go ahead and start with I'm just gonna open up all the packages and stick the chicken breasts. I'm gonna put the chicken breasts into this bowl. I'm gonna put the chicken thighs into this bowl. There's 6 chicken breasts there, and I'm actually going to make chicken parmesan tonight, so I'm not actually going to end up marinating all of this. I figured since the chicken is thawed, I wanted to give chicken parmesan a try. I've never made it before, so we'll see how it goes. Okay. Let's see how many chicken thighs. Okay, so 4 bone-in skin on chicken thighs in that package. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. 12, no, we have 24 chicken thighs, and I'm gonna go ahead and keep them in packages of 4. So I need 6 bags, and they don't need to be huge for the chicken thighs. And so we're gonna do honey chipotle, and I'm gonna write thighs. So there's 4 marinades I'm gonna make, so we're gonna get 1 of each marinade for the chicken thighs and for the chicken breasts. The next one's going to be balsamic. And we're going to do sweet chili chicken. I've done the sweet chili chicken before, and it's delicious. And then we're going to do the honey garlic. I've also done the honey garlic, also delicious. And same as with the pork, I'm going to try and keep one hand clean, and the other hand is the one I'm going to be using for putting the chicken thighs into the bag. Let's hope I made some of these bags big enough. I may not have. It's okay. We will adapt. And then 2 bags of chicken thighs, I'm going to leave, I'm going to put them in Italian dressing. It was one of the first marinades I ever messed around with, was just marinating everything in Italian dressing, and I absolutely loved it. I haven't done that in a while, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to make 1 Italian dressing chicken thighs, and then I'm going to leave 1 just completely plain, and it'll just have a very basic seasoning on it. If you guys are wondering, this is 100% how I operate all the time. We figure it out as we go. As much as I tried to plan this out, still didn't. Still forgot things. Still don't remember things. Just plain old chicken thighs. Okay, Italian dressing is up first. And if you are new to marinades, if you want something simple, you want something easy, Italian dressing was one of the first marinades that I ever used. It's already pre-made. You can make your own Italian dressing if you want. I didn't have the ingredients. Reed was kind enough to go to the grocery store this morning and get us some Italian dressing. You can use Italian dressing to marinate chicken, pork, beef. I haven't tried fish, but those three things I have used Italian dressing, and it is amazing on all of them. I've grilled my steak, I've grilled chicken, I've baked chicken, I've pan-seared chicken, I've baked pork chops, I've grilled pork chops, I've pan-seared pork chops, all with Italian dressing. Marinade, it's fabulous. So if you want to start with something basic for a marinade, Italian dressing. You can't go wrong. And I'm just gonna eyeball it. I have never actually measured. I'd say it's probably close to like 1/3 cup to 1/2 cup. I may make it closer to 1/2 cup, just because there's 4 large chicken breasts in here. There we go. And I'm going ahead and I am running the food saver immediately because I don't really have anything to keep them supported once there is a marinade in them, and I just don't want to deal with the mess. So I'm just making the marinades, going ahead and sealing them immediately, and then I can go ahead and get them in the fridge so that way they are not warming up either. All right, the next one is just basic chicken thighs, so we can get this one sealed up as well. Okay, the next one is honey chipotle, and this honey chipotle is going to call for, let's see, where's it at? Oh, I lost it. How did I lose this? Chipotle peppers and adobo. So I'm going to open this guy up, take out a couple of peppers, and get it diced. So let's grab 1, 2, 3. We'll do 3 because I don't know how hot these are, and I'm going to grab a little bit of the sauce. They smell really, really good. I've never used these before, but I've wanted to, so I'm excited to go ahead and give these a try. Open the bag up. I'm just going to slide the peppers directly in to the bag. Sweet. I did not make a ginormous mess in the process, which is great. I'm going to set that aside because we're going to need that again. So now we need oil, and it calls for 1/3 cup of oil. Again, we're just kind of measuring with our eyes. It calls for honey. I'm going to do the honey last. It calls for chili powder. It calls for a teaspoon of chili powder. Calls for sweet paprika. I don't have sweet paprika. I don't know if this is regular or if this is smoked, but it's the only paprika I have. So we are going to use the paprika. This recipe also calls for cumin. I did not realize I'm out of cumin, which is absolutely tragic. So on this bag, I'm going to write that I need to add cumin to it when I buy cumin. So we will make sure to add the cumin. We need dried oregano. It calls for a teaspoon of dried oregano. And it calls for garlic cloves. I was originally going to mince up some garlic. I don't have the energy for that, so we're going to do garlic powder. And we're going to just do, we'll do 1 teaspoon garlic because we like garlic in this house. And then a bunch of fresh cilantro. I have freeze-dried cilantro. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some freeze-dried cilantro to that. We'll call it good. And now we're gonna add our honey. I'm trying not to make a mess with the honey. Let me get a new spoon. And how much honey does it call for? It calls for 1/4 cup, so I'm going to use a lot of this honey. Oh no! Oh shoot. Should be okay. It's going to be very sweet chipotle, I guess. We're going to need that for the next recipe, or the next honey chipotle I make. But other than that, we got the oil, the honey, the thighs, the chili powder, the paprika, the oregano, the garlic, the cilantro. We just forgot the cumin because we don't have any. So we're gonna go ahead and get this guy sealed on up. I'm just gonna work all of this stuff in a little bit. And I'll rework all of this once I pull it and I want to use it. As it thaws in the fridge, I'll just rework everything back in. But for now, it's good enough to go in the freezer. All right, next is our balsamic thighs. The balsamic thighs calls for oil, balsamic vinegar, more honey. We're using a lot of honey today. Good thing I have honey. Basil, oregano, minced garlic. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna add our garlic. We're gonna go ahead and do a full teaspoon of garlic. We need a fair amount of oregano. We need basil. It says for a tablespoon of basil. So we're going to grab a good handful. Okay. 1/4 cup of honey, 1/2 cup of balsamic vinegar, and some oil, also 1/2 cup of oil. Sure. We'll call that about 1/2 cup of oil. Now we need to do our honey again. We're gonna make a big mess with our honey. It's just fine. We need 1/4 cup of honey in this recipe as well. There we go. Far less of a mess. And that's it. All right, the honey garlic chicken calls for olive oil, soy sauce, honey, garlic. It says water. I'm not adding water to this. That seems a little excessive. So we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of honey to this as well. It's a little bit slower now. Okay. We're gonna add our tablespoons of olive oil, which is not a lot. Instead of soy, I don't do soy typically. So I'm gonna change out coconut aminos for soy, but if you do soy, you can go ahead and do 2 tablespoons of soy instead. But I switched out for 2 tablespoons of coconut aminos. And then we're gonna do garlic. And it says 2 garlic cloves, but I have enough garlic powder there for that. And that's all there is for the honey garlic chicken. I tend to do the honey garlic chicken a lot. Okay, now let's go ahead and get started on the sweet chili chicken. So I've had this sweet chili sauce. You can get it, there's several different varieties of sweet chili, but I've had this on the shelf for a while and I want to use it. And I actually find I really like it as a marinade because most of my ingredients are already mixed for me. So it says for 6 tablespoons of the sweet chili sauce, 3 tablespoons of soy. Again, I'm going to use coconut aminos, and then it says water. I'm not going to add the water. We can do the water later. So also, this, if you want something simple, sweet chili sauce. Just going to add a bunch of, ooh, that might have been a little much. It's okay. So that's done. And coconut aminos. We're going to finish this bottle off. I have another bottle of coconut aminos. Just like that, we've got the chicken thighs done. I am going to repeat this process for the chicken breast. I think there were 2 thighs. I think I'm gonna do every single marinade, and we won't have chicken thighs that are unmarinated, which is totally fine. So that's what we're gonna do. So in less than an hour, I was able to get 14 pre-packaged portions of meat, 13 of which are already in marinades for future use to save time for me and for Reed. And the chicken, both packages of 6 for the chicken was less than $60, and the pork chops were $27. So we got 14 meals for less than $100 ready to go in our freezer, and it took me an hour to get this taken care of. I started doing this just with basic Italian dressing and or barbecue sauce many years ago when I moved out on my own to save myself time. I was a college student, I worked full time, my time was important and incredibly valuable, so this was how I went about doing it, and now I've expanded on the type of marinades that I use, and I'm so happy I have. So this is meant to help you, give you some ideas on how to save yourself time, on how any meal ideas without getting too crazy fancy that you need. Hopefully you find this helpful, and it is cost effective. A lot of these marinade recipes have ingredients that you should have on hand, especially if you just have Italian dressing. That's usually why I went with it, because it was one ingredient. However, the honey garlic, it's honey, it's garlic, it's soy sauce and or coconut aminos. Very, very easy. The sweet chili, it's that sweet chili sauce and soy sauce or coconut aminos. And the barbecue is also pretty basic. Very simple ingredients that you have on hand. So hopefully hopefully you found this helpful. Hopefully you found it enjoyable. Please let me know what you make for marinated meats, and if you've ever made marinated meats, and what you do to save yourself time in the kitchen, because we all know that our time is valuable. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you liked this, please consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. We're going to do a lot more self-help, learning and growing as individuals, everything that people need to know as a young adult to make sure they are fed, nourished, and successful in life. So have a wonderful rest of your night, and I will see you guys next time.